Good afternoon, guys. Today's video, we're going to be talking about how to run a mile in 5 minutes. This is a question that's asked all over the place online. As far as the mile is concerned, it's a highly aerobic event. So you have to train those fast twitch muscle fibers to get the best results. You want to run it as efficiently as possible, and it's going to take, it doesn't necessarily take a lot of mileage because the mile is so quick. But in this video, we're going to be discussing some strategies you can use to break the 5-minute barrier. And if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, click subscribe and the bell icon. That way, anytime I make a new video, you'll be notified of it. So let's get started. Okay, guys, to break a 5-minute mile demands that you hold 75 seconds per 400 meters 4 times in a row. So I started running the mile when I was a freshman in high school. The first time I ever ran the mile was 5 minutes and 30 seconds. My brother talked me into coming out for the track team. He was a shot putter and a discus thrower. I had no idea what event I really wanted to do. I just knew I had the build for a distance runner. So I started running the mile and the 2 mile. And in high school, I was only running between 30 and 40 miles a week. Which for some people is a lot of mileage, and it really is. It just, if you're not focused so much on training for longer distances, you don't necessarily have to run a lot of mileage to run under a 5-minute mile, but you do have to work on your speed and your stamina because the mile does involve a lot of strength. You do have to continue to build your endurance by doing longer runs, but you don't have to run. You're not training for a marathon. If you're training specifically for the mile is a speed event. So you want to make sure that you're really working on your leg speed. If you're running around 6-minute pace right now, or your personal best is like maybe 6:30 or just under 6 minutes, you have to continue to train close to that 75 second per 400 meter pace. And a lot of that is, what I did in high school was, my goal in high school was to break a 4-minute mile. But I had to start first at trying to break a 5-minute mile. And I didn't do it until my sophomore year in high school. The first time I ran the mile, like I said, was in 5 minutes and 30 seconds. By the end of the year, I got it down to 5:09. And then my sophomore year, I ran 4:38. So in terms of the mile is much like the marathon and any other distance, middle distance or distance event. You have got to be patient with yourself. The results in track and field and road racing do not come overnight. And I think that's the biggest hurdle for a lot of athletes trying to break the 5-minute mile or trying to break a 3-hour marathon. It's patience and persistence. And I think, if anything, if you just stay focused on and patient with yourself and stay focused on the task of trying to break a 5-minute mile, you're eventually going to do it. It's one thing to be able to hold, go through 800, run an 800 in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but it's another thing to hold those last two laps at 75 second pace or faster. I always think that, the third lap of the mile is the most critical. It's definitely the point of the race where most athletes are hurting the most. And the last lap, when we get to the last lap, it's usually we're running on adrenaline and we know it's the last lap. It's sort of like the last mile of a marathon. You're almost done, but adrenaline and excitement and knowing that you're getting near the finish propels us to that last, gets us to the finish line in record time, and we're able to pick up our pace. But the third lap of your mile is critical. If you're trying to break, how to break a 5-minute mile really comes down to mental toughness on that third lap. If you can get through that third lap and you've run, if you've gone out the first lap in around 77 seconds, 76 seconds, and you've been able to sustain that 5-minute mile pace, that third lap is what's going to make or break your end goal of running a 4:59 mile. But it does take, a sub 5-minute mile does take leg speed. It does take a small amount of talent. I mean, it's definitely not an easy pace, whatsoever. But over time, you have to realize that what you think right now is impossible. Maybe right now you're at, say 620, or maybe you're at 540, and you think that it's a 459 is light years away, and maybe you're not capable of doing it. I think the biggest hurdle for most athletes that are, whether they're middle distance runners or the distance runners, is just impatience and expecting the result to come much sooner than it's going to take. A lot of times that, like I said, I wanted to break 4 minutes for the mile in high school, and I was able to get my mile time down to 4 minutes and 25 seconds by my senior year. But again, 25 seconds, a 4:25 and a 3:59 are light years apart. And I found out that later on in my life that the marathon distance was my best distance. But I think right now you have to continue in terms of breaking. How to run a sub 5 minute mile takes consistent working on your leg speed, doing repeat 200s, repeat 300s. Even when I was in high school, all the way up even to now, I still continue to work on my leg speed. I think that doing 10 to 20 100-meter sprints all out with full recovery is a great workout. You're for one, you're running way faster than a sub 5 minute mile pace. If you're sprinting all out, and you're already say you're at 5:30 or you're at 5:15 for the mile right now. If you're doing those sprints, you're recruiting fast twitch muscle fibers. If you don't know what fast, most distance runners, middle distance runners are like 95% fast twitch muscle fiber. Their bodies are comprised of 95% fast twitch muscle fibers and like 5% slow twitch. So in terms of the mile, the 2 mile, if you're in high school or you're in college trying to break a 5 minute mile, you have to, one, continue to work on your endurance, continue to do those long runs, but you don't have in terms of track and field and running the mile, you're not training for a marathon, so you don't necessarily have to go out and do a 15 to 20 mile long run. Maybe a 8 mile long run or a 10 mile long run is good for you, but you got to think about it. If you're doing a 10 mile long run, that's 9 miles over what you're trying to race at. It's going to make you so strong. So you have that. The long run is definitely going to build your endurance. That's key for breaking a 5 minute mile. Running further than the distance, and building up your endurance. That's really going to make you strong. But you have to work in terms of breaking 5 minutes. You have to hold 75 seconds for 4 laps straight. And I think one thing that's difficult for most athletes is just sustaining that pace and not slowing down and minimizing the slowdown. A lot of athletes can do 75 second. They can do 5 minute mile pace for a lap, maybe 2 laps, maybe even 3 laps. But it's that 4th lap. Again, it's not where you're at the start of the race. It's where you finish at. I've heard athletes over the years. I've even said it. I was on sub 220 marathon pace for 18, 19 miles. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you were at a point in the race. Where were you at the finish line? That's the key. And it's just tough love. It's the facts. When we all get excited as athletes, telling our friends and family about how we did, and it's great. But saying where you were at in a specific part of the race doesn't do you any good. All that matters is, one, if you weren't able to sustain the pace in the race, say you're on 5 minute mile pace for 3 laps, after the race, write down the things that went wrong. What did you learn from it? What went right? And get to a point where, and continue to put in the work. Be patient with yourself. So after you write down what went right and what went wrong, over time you can figure out where the leaks are in your training, and with breaking a 5 minute mile, it's a matter of time. It's not a matter of if you can do it, it's a matter of when it's going to happen. In most cases, as we age, we get stronger as long as we're putting in that consistent, persistent work. I've known athletes over the years that were great middle distance runners, great marathoners, half marathoners, 10K athletes that didn't have that eye of the tiger, that do whatever it takes attitude. They wanted to be great in the sport, but they weren't all in. You got to be tenacious. If you want to break a 5 minute mile or you want to go after a specific goal pace, for your race, you got to be all in. You got to be hungry. You got to be disciplined. You got to be focused. It can't just be an interest. It's got to be a commitment. And there's a massive difference between interest and commitment. Bottom line, period. And I've tried to motivate athletes, whether beginner or athletes or elite athletes over the years, and a lot of times the more advanced the athlete is, you don't have to tell them, but even elite athletes, they run low sometimes on motivation as well. I did as well, but it does help to have that mentor, to have that coach, to have somebody around you that's going to just be blunt with you and tell you like it is. And to break a 5-minute mile, it's a very competitive time. To run 4:59 or faster, you have to continue to develop your speed, continue to develop your overall leg turnover, and more than anything, be patient with yourself. If you're running 5:20 or you continue to run the mile and you're running 5:50s, or maybe right now you're at 6:30 and you've always wanted to break a 5-minute mile, just continue to develop that leg speed. Do strides every other day on your easy days. Strides are too short to build up any lactic acid, but they're 50 to 100 meters in length. You can do those after your easy runs, or during your easy runs, or before your easy runs. And because they're so short, you're not building up any lactic acid, but you're continuing to develop your speed. And what that does is you're running at paces that are at sprint speeds, and you do that over a 12 to 16 week block of training, or a 4 to 16 week block of training. What you're doing is, over time, is spending miles at sprint speeds. So this one strategy, you can just develop into your training. You probably already are doing it, but I think a lot of athletes don't necessarily know what that really does. Is you're doing 5 to 6 50 to 100 meter strides 2 to 3 times a week on top of your other training, your track sessions, your hill repeats, your long runs. I'm telling you, that's going to make you super strong. Just going to increase your stamina over a longer period of time. It's just being consistent, doing that over and over and over again is going to make you very, very strong for the mile. And again, it's spending miles. When you think of it over a long period of time, you're spending miles at sprint speed. So that again is really key. You want to run much faster than race pace, but you also have to, if you want to break a 5-minute mile, how to run a sub 5-minute mile also comes down to being very cognizant of your recovery days as well. Not running too fast when you need to be backing off. Again, all the benefits from your hard work come within the rest. It doesn't come from the workout itself. Yes, we have to do the workouts, but the benefits of your hard work and having those physiological adaptations that occur from the track sessions, from the tempo runs, from the hill reps, the long runs, all of that comes in the rest. So be very disciplined with yourself. Be just as disciplined with yourself on your easy days as you are with your hard days. And have fun. Don't take things too personal. Don't get caught up with what other athletes are doing or what other athletes are saying. If you've been on Let'sRun.com for any period of time, if you go to their message boards, it's ridiculous. It's just nothing but negativity for the most part. I mean, there are positive commenters, but so many people on that site say negative things, and it's sad. There's more to life than running. So, do the best you can with the sport. If you're trying to break a 5-minute mile right now, either as a high school athlete or as an advanced athlete, somebody that's been doing it for a long time, just keep things in perspective. At the end of the day, your family, your friends, people that are around you are what count, because they're going to love you and care about you whether you run a sub 5-minute mile or you drop out of the race. So surround yourself with the right people. That's another thing. To break a sub 5-minute mile, surround yourself with the right people. Be around people that are better than you, that are going to take you out of your comfort zone on a regular basis, and that will definitely get you to a point where you're going to run 4 laps at 75 seconds per lap, and continue to work on your speed. When you're doing those sprints, focus on your form, focus on your breathing, focus on the muscle tension in your body. A lot of things. Something I always focus on when I'm racing and training for the marathon is I always focus on keeping my face relaxed and keeping my shoulders relaxed and just keeping my form, keeping my body relaxed. You can consciously tell yourself to just stay calm, I'm strong, relax. And usually the facial muscles and your shoulders are the first to tense up. So I hope these tips have been helpful for you. I know you'll be able to break a sub 5-minute mile, but it does come down to being patient with yourself, not expecting results immediately. None of us can plant a seed in the ground and the next day an oak tree grows. So you got to continue to nurture that seed and continue to put in the work and to be patient with yourself. So I hope this video has been helpful. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, click subscribe and hit on the bell icon. That way, anytime I make a new video, you'll be notified of that. And if this video has been helpful, give me a like, give me a comment below. Let me know where you're currently at with the mile. If you're in high school or you're in college or you're out of college and you're trying to get under that sub 5-minute mile, let me know your thoughts. If there's something that I didn't cover in this video, feel free to leave me a comment and let me know. And I look forward to talking with you next video, and I'll see you next time.